All right. Shalom, Grandma Ginger's farm. Shalom. Here, I gotta get this down just a little bit. Let's see if I can sit back there. Can y'all see me and hear me okay? North Michigan, JB. And there's a moderator, J.A. Dudley. Shalom, brother. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. You see anything?
Oh, they're fine. They were calm.
They were calm? All right. We heard a noise. Pastor went to check it out. All right. Well, it's a beautiful night. The temperature is lovely. I'm just waiting for my chickens to go into their coop, and I think they're having a problem. I may have to go up there and open the door a little bit more because it looks like it can't fit, possibly. And I thought I would get on just for, until it gets too dark, maybe. Welcome back, everybody. I know it's been a while since I've done a live stream, and there's been so much going on. I'm uploading a video right now. I uploaded a video yesterday, and I see so many prepping channels doing videos. There's just so much going on. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was defunding the police. Hello, Shelley. Hello, Gardner. Welcome. I understand defund the police. Defund the police was a political thing this past summer. There have been lots of shootings. There have been lots of crimes, and police had been found guilty of, rushing into things and shooting people they shouldn't have and so on. And it became a very popular battle cry this past summer. And I get it. However, the answer to all the problems was not to defund them and to reduce the amount of police, because the logical conclusion of that was going to be, and it is happening right now, increased crime in cities. And so, again, it's summer. Pastor and I are very busy. We've been doing all sorts of projects on the property. I haven't been paying attention. I haven't been looking at the news. It's more like demoralize the police. I've always said that our police forces got militarized under the war on drugs, and we knew that was going to cause issues. And I think that's where we're seeing, hey, Ken Fannin, shalom. I think that's where we're seeing the police escalating their responses to different situations. And we're getting, Pastor watches every single police shooting video that gets online. Like every day he's watching the latest. And one thing you can notice is how quickly these situations escalate. And it started to turn into this like standoff, like this one video that he watched was an older gentleman. The police were called. They showed up. They said, "Hey, look, we're here to help you. Do you need anything?" And he was very aggressive with them. And who knows? I don't know the whole backstory on this gentleman, but he wound up coming outside of his house. He was cursing the police. He was talking, "Hey, shalom, following Yeshua. I watched your potato gathering video today. I'm hoping that I can get around to that while I'm talking about this." Shalom, Grace Acres. This gentleman, he's talking very aggressively. He's not making a lot of sense. He goes in his house and he comes back out with a firearm and he starts pointing it at the police, and the police react by shooting him. And they find out later it is an air rifle, which is usually, I have to ask my husband, but not lethal to a human being. Air rifles are used, to do things like shoot squirrels that keep getting in your feeders and, annoying little things. And so it's sad. It's just a terrible thing. And the police were, very, oh my God, it was an air rifle. And I don't think the man made it. He got shot multiple times in the chest. But this is just a sad situation. And this escalation of responses to people being upset, and even people being upset is no longer what it used to be. I think about police back in the 60s when I'm a kid, and a lot of problems could be solved by talking and not necessarily arresting, or community policing where the police officers knew the community, and so you get the Andy Griffith style, hey, he's our neighborhood drunk, we put him in the drunk tank for each weekend, and then we let him go home so he can go to his job and whatever. It was just a kinder, gentler nation, and now we're just right on the cutting edge of things. We have people completely methed out and flocked out and doing things like running around naked and jamming themselves onto buses, and meth addicts who don't make any sense and aren't going to be able to have a rational discussion with a police officer. And the police officer, just stands there. He shows several videos where they just stand there and yell the same thing at this person who's not responding correctly anyway. Show us your hands, show us your hands, show us your hands, a million times, where it went from, hey, bud, how you doing, to just this screaming match to they didn't comply. We don't know what's going on. And sometimes the hands come out and they do have a weapon. They have a knife or whatever. And sometimes they don't. But the situation just gets from 0 to 100 and people get shot, and it's not good. So was watching videos tonight, talking also to a friend who lives in Seattle. And Pastor and I lived in Seattle. We lived in that area twice. And both times we lived there, it was a very nice place to live. It hadn't gotten super busy. Traffic wasn't crazy. Prices weren't crazy. And the areas we lived in were outside of the city. They were kind of rural, like we do like. And they were small towny, and they were pretty good. But this friend of mine's been living there a while. I agree on defunding the ATF. I think the ATF needs to be rehauled, redirected, because there are alcohol, tobacco, and firearms scams and people trying to sell things illegally and so on. But yeah, they were overused too in the war on drugs. But anyway, back to Seattle. My friend's been living there forever, and the last time I talked to him, someone had actually rammed their shopping cart into the back of his legs at a Trader Joe's while he was shopping there, and had done so. It was a woman and her child, very aggressively, and the woman told the child, this is how we act around, overbearing white men, and he didn't, I think he just warned her. He said, lady, I'm a gentleman, but I'm not going to take it. Hello, Mrs. West, shalom. And so she didn't do it again, but she was teaching her child to assault a stranger in public and to think that was correct behavior. And I was shocked when he told me that. And he also said he had been pursued a couple of times in his vehicles where people were trying to run his vehicle off the road or run into his vehicle. And I was like, wow, that's really bad. You should move. And he's going to move, but he's a very, he's a faithful person, and he's waiting for the Holy Spirit to prompt him to leave. Anyway, I was just talking to him today, and I said, how are things? And he said, well, Seattle has turned into a kind of Chicago. He said, our crime rate is way up. We're having shootings, and sometimes multiple shootings every day. And I thought, man, this is not the Seattle I remember. But as you know, Seattle was a place where, like, the mayor was very liberal, and they defunded their police, and now they're down to about a quarter of amount of the officers that they originally had, and their crime rate has just exploded, which is to be expected. And he said the shootings were on the rise. And I didn't really, I wanted to check the facts, because people say things, I say things, and I can overemphasize or I can exaggerate, and wanted to make sure. So I just Googled Seattle crime and the top of stories. Now, the first story I saw said, oh, Seattle's crime rate's going down. But that story was from 2019. Hey, Major Ken. Shalom. Manchester, New Hampshire has gotten rough as well, says Isaac. The first one was from 2019 saying the crime rate went down, but the latest stories like June and July 2021, the crime rate in Seattle has shot up, and they are now one of the most violent cities in the country comparatively with other large cities. So it's true. I mean, he's there on the ground, and one thing he said people were doing. Uh-oh. Hang on, y'all. I have to get a phone call right in the middle of this. Hello? Whoop. Yeah, that was my grown kids trying to call, and I didn't. People up in Seattle right now have completely disregarded rules of the road, like the laws governing driving around. It was a deer. That's why I was trying to call him back. They're not stopping at stop signs. They're blowing right through red lights. He said it's absolutely crazy. So defunding your police may, be some political solution to a problem, but it's not a good one. A solution to a problem needs to be well thought out, and it needs to look at what's going to happen in the future. Now, I think retraining police, changing police training to handle situations, more community type policing makes sense, but I'm not in charge of that, and I can't make that happen. But here's what I see possibly happening, because I said this to Solar Jam, and it's true. Still did not figure out how to do not disturb. I do know how to do it. I just didn't do it beforehand because this was one of those kind of live streams where I just wanted to get into it. Hey, Sergeant James, shalom. If you'd asked me 10 years ago, could you destabilize the United States? I would have said no. I would have said we're pretty firmly in our culture. We're pretty firmly in our beliefs and our middle class, watch football and our, just the way we do things here. We're a very new country, but it seems like we sort of had a path we were going on, and we have completely derailed from that path. So I didn't think even last year when the pandemic was going on that it had to derail the entire country. But I think it's being done now, because when you defund the police and you get rising crime rates in cities, you start getting anarchy. And the fact that our government messed up the Afghanistan-Kabul withdrawal is another sign of that, where it's something that you could count on. Oh, thank you, Benja. Something you could count on, which was our government backing its citizens and our military being competent, was completely blown out of the water by our politicians. And so a foundational stone of our culture has been knocked over by a country that is like living in the medieval ages. So that right there is a sign that there's instability. I have a very negative image for our nation's future. I expect serious trouble, says Isaac, a 21-year-old. Welcome, Isaac. You're probably the only 21-year-old watching my channel. Anyway, right. So if you now today, I can understand, I can see our culture, our society actually crumbling and being replaced by this leftist propaganda, and the media is fueling it. Equal kind of, but it won't be. See, this is the thing. Socialism and communism, no matter how people want to say, oh yeah, power to the people and all that, they don't work. They never work, because you get an elite and then you get a really poor class, and there's no in between. Oh my goodness, Isaac, thank you. I didn't even realize that was on. Thank you very much. but you get such a disparity. And when people are told, especially Americans, if you're like, let's say you're a farmer and you're told by your communist government, okay, farmer, we don't want you to farm anymore. We want you to go in and run a bakery. People lose motivation. And so communist countries don't work. They're very inefficient. They're very ineffective. And the people who suffer the most are the elite, top of the cream of the crop, because a lot of communist countries, the first thing their dictator, their Mao Zedong, their Castro do is they kill all your intelligentsia. They kill all the professors, all the scientists, all the doctors, all the lawyers. They kill anyone who is making progress for your culture. They kill people who run factories and so on. And so everything crumbles back down to the medieval ages. You got no medicine. You got no production. Yeah, General Milley, that's not. Yes, rules for thee, but not for me. Exactly, Jeffrey Roth. Reminds me of the book Burning in 1930s Germany. Exactly. Working age 13 to 14 because they had to all pull together. Exactly. And so communist regimes don't work. And if you look at North Korea and the crazy people who run it and the people who come out of that culture and talk about the starvation and people getting shot. I'm still reading The White War about Italy and Austria fighting in World War I. And Italy, if you remember, in World War II was a fascist government. In World War I, they still had that kind of socialist leaning government and mindset. And they started shooting their own soldiers in their army for just the most minor infractions, for them complaining that their rations of food weren't big enough, or if they came back even a couple of hours late from their leave, they were just shot. So the value of life in a communist and socialist country is nothing. Hey, Prep Frog, shalom. Our major cities are becoming a version of Warsaw, Poland. I don't know if I'd take it that far, Isaac, but they're definitely becoming a lot more like the communist cities under the Russians, back when they were just idealistically communist. And if you guys remember, Stalin, he takes over after World War II. Hardline communists killed 50 million Russians, killed them, line them up and shoot them. Have the secret police arrest them, torture them, and just kill them. Communism and socialism are a horrible system for a country. And so, hey, Brandon, we shouldn't be enacting it. I don't know why people are trying to push it. Hey, Yankee Watchdog, shalom. I don't know why we've got a generation of people who think that this is going to improve their life, because it's not. And the other thing, just imagine yourself, because here's where I told my friend, I said, look, I can now see us falling. I can see the fabric of our society falling because we have lawlessness. Now, for us who follow Torah, lawlessness is bad. We are all about the Father's laws, but also civil laws help keep the peace. It's what they're being taught in high school and college. Yes, but why? Why would anyone want our country to fail? We all live pretty well. I don't want it to fail. I don't think these are smart things. I don't know. Hey, lose your life? Shalom. Yeah. Lawlessness is bad. And what happens in lawlessness is your top criminal ends up running everything, and nothing is fair. And you don't get to count on anything you counted on. And the fact that they're picking on, see, we're going to segue, because it's all these things are related. It's related to Defund the Police, it's related to the pandemic, and it's related to this reverse thinking that the unvaccinated need to be shunned, which is just nonsense. And I've done a video, you guys hopefully have watched it, on that. It's just it's nonsensical thinking. Those who should be shunned, if anyone should be shunned, are people who are sick and spreading and infecting other people. But when you have that going on and you have medical facilities telling people, we're not going to treat you because you're unvaccinated, that's denying them, I won't say it's a basic human right, but it's definitely an expectation as an American citizen, and it pretty much was a benefit of being an American citizen. Our medical system, it was the best in the world. Hey, Steve. Shalom. And so when you cannot count on your local hospital, because the pastor had a story of a hospital that's no longer going to birth babies because they're dealing with COVID and they're overworked and they just don't have the people or whatever. Oh, I'm rocking. Am I pixelated? You guys tell me if I'm pixelated. When you cannot count on going to a hospital to have your baby, and people have to have their babies by themselves, or midwives are suddenly going to become super important. But even midwives, most states require them to be linked to a doctor and a hospital in case it's needed. And again, this is not me. I think midwives are wonderful and they can make a huge difference. But a hospital just saying flat out, nope, you're not coming here, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And it's just another sign that our society, our culture is being attacked, and it's gonna go down. I've been accused of being an anarchist by people. I am not. I just believe in small government and rule of law, which confines to the Constitution. Right, exactly. So if you have the police defunded, if your hospitals will not treat people because of COVID, if people in your community who are not vaccinated are not allowed to go shop or something like that, this is wrong. This is not what a democratic republic should be like. And you need to be looking at your governors, because they have the power to say no to some of this nonsense. See, I will help whomever needs it, said Kit 10. That's the oath I took as a nurse, right? Right. Your local governments can also say no to these kind of things and can respond to the local populace. And that's what's going to need to happen, because your big cities are just going to be out of control. And so here's another example. I was just online, like I said, and I'm watching some of the short reels on Instagram. Well, no, that's off subject. I think Fox News had a story on there. That's why it's related. Fox News had a story on there about a man being a motorcycle gang. Now, this is like 4 to 6 guys on motorcycles drove up to a car in New York City. It looked like he may have been parking, like surrounded his car, got out and dragged him out and beat him severely. And they're talking about the rise in crime in New York City too, because of the defunding the police and so on. And I also saw a news story on some sort of, I think, a domestic in a housing area, and they asked a local neighbor, like, what's it like being around here? And that person said, it was a man. He said, this is not a time to defund the police. Shootings are up, crime is up. This is not the time to do it. And I thought, exactly. He's there in his neighborhood suffering the criminal stuff going on because somebody else defunded the police. Hey, Mosby's Men, Ozarks, how you doing, brother? You missed Ida, right? You're doing okay? It doesn't help if you catch them and they turn them right back out, right? When you don't have enough personnel working the cases, not enough people to do the paperwork, not enough people to process the criminals, and your legal system is not operating correctly, and they turn these guys back out on the street, you're teaching them that crime does pay, and they should keep doing it. We were blessed, y'all moved it east of us. Well, hallelujah. All right, let me see what this is. Here in Quebec, we already have a full vaccinal passport needed in most public recreational places. It's coming across the country, federalized in less than a year. Yeah, unfortunately, Canada is more like a socialist country and less like a democratic republic. And what happens to the unvaccinated? The country's just going to let them starve? Just going to let them die? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that doesn't make any sense because unvaccinated people, I've explained this multiple times. If they haven't had COVID, they can't spread COVID. As a virus, it's in your system when you get it and it starts multiplying in your system. And then when you're coughing and sneezing, you're spreading it. So if they are unvaccinated and they haven't had COVID yet, they can't spread anything. Now, if they're unvaccinated and they've had COVID, they probably have natural immunity. And like I said before, there are very few studies that are talking about natural immunity. There are very few studies that have any percentage or risk factor for unvaccinated people and their natural immunity and how much they might actually be spreading it. But vaccinated people still shed the virus and they can still infect people around them. And so it's just crazy. It's crazy. I don't even want to go into it. I don't even want to go into it because I've talked about it so many times. It's just really frustrating to me how things are going. So we need to move to the next part because I'm running out of light, and when it gets dark, I'm going to have to go do my chores and get out of the nighttime stuff, mosquitoes and all that stuff. But anyway, if our culture starts collapsing, if crime grows up in your area, if your hospitals will not treat you or your doctor refuses to have you there, what are you going to do? This is a really good point that Lynn from, what is her, Homestead Australia made on a live stream with Gray Man Prepping. Now is a really good time to be in a group. Now is a really good time for you and other people who think like you to be able to depend on each other when all this madness comes down. When crime goes up and sickness goes up, it's going to be better for you if you know people and you can hunker down or help each other. Like Kit 10. If I lived near Kit 10, I would be saying, we may need your skills later. We will take good care of you. You come help us, we help you. It's a really good time for you to, if you're young enough, volunteer for your local fire department. If it's volunteer, it's not going to help you to do it at a paid place because, you know, those are professional firefighters. But you might be able to be a volunteer to help them because they're going to be in on rescue stuff. They have medical equipment and some training, and they know a lot about your area. And it's a good contact to have. This is a really good time for you to finish up your prepping, to get those skills you need, to get the supplies you need, and to be ready to hunker down, keep your head down. You don't want to be the nail that's sticking up that needs hammering, saying, I don't agree, and I blah, 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 and I'm going to stop crime, and so on. No. Now is a really good time to hunker down and watch and look at what's happening in your area and being able to respond. And some people, you may have to move. I know my husband's been saying, come out for my people for a really long time. And some people have and some people haven't, but it may now become necessary. My friend who lives in Seattle said he has helped 7 different families leave the area because they no longer felt safe. It wasn't worth them staying there, having whatever job they had, having whatever house they had, whatever neighborhood they lived in. It's changed. And so he's helped them move. Gosh, there's another example where if you know some people, moving won't be as hard. If they can help you pack up and carry stuff and just think about it, y'all. I mean, if it continues to go bad the way it is going bad now, and it doesn't correct, it's basically going to be anarchy. And it's every man for himself in that situation. And you guys need to be ready for that. I want you to be ready for that. I hope you're ready for that. Pastor and I have positioned ourselves as well as we could, mainly with an idea to retire. to be in a quiet, peaceful place, which is what we are, and to live a lifestyle where we didn't require a lot of stuff. If you're not that, if you're, man, Seattle, I'm telling you, Seattle was a really nice place to live in the mid-90s. It was a lovely place, and all the tech people were coming there, and young people, and coffee was taken off, flavored coffee and Starbucks coffee and all that. It was a really exciting place to be. But if you're in Seattle now, excuse me, and all you want is peace and quiet, it's gone. Driving on the road is not safe. Shopping in a store is not safe. Are you going to continue to stay in that? Because I don't advise you to. I advise you to leave it also, and just to be ready to understand that the life that you had there before is not the life that is right now, and to make wise decisions, I guess is the way I wanted to put that. Okay, I will stop talking. I've talked for half an hour. Let me see if I can read some of these. Midwives be important. French Canadian ancestors are rolling over in their graves. Demonize, compartmentalize, minimalize. I will never get the facts ever, Isaac said. Arkansas Hillbilly said, come out here, my people. Ben just said, going Noah. Wes S. was on here. Hey, Wes S. Wait, you just described the country I live in, Sister Kate. The vax is death, and it's being forced on everyone, even the children. This is a work. Hey, Northwest Arkansas Prepper. Okay, so that's an interesting comment. The vax is a death sentence. Now, I have said this multiple times to people who know me. I am not anti-vax. I have had many vaccines. What I'm not willing to do is be a guinea pig. So I'm not even willing to say I would never get it, because I'm waiting for the science to bear out. 5 years down the road, if no one's having weird side effects and it continues to be effective and so on, I may take the vaccine. But I'm more comfortable with just avoiding the virus, of staying away from people in general so they can't infect me with it, and to when I do go out in public, to sanitize. I wear a mask in public. I know a lot of you guys are like, no, I'll never wear a mask. I wear a mask in public, and I, wash my hands and rinse my hands and everything else. So that's where I'm looking at it. But I know a lot of people are saying it's a death sentence. It's a bioweapon. I agree. I think it was. I'm not scared of the flu, someone said. And that's fine. This is not me hating on people who see it differently than I do. I think every single person makes up their own mind about these issues. And you do, you live according to what your beliefs are. I'm not trying to push mine on you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, in my latest video, I actually did some study. I like facts. Haven't been sick in 18 months. HR 666 and HR 6. I'll take any vaccines. Never did as a kid. I was homeschooled. Still almost never got sick. That's fine. I'm not sassing y'all on that. I'm just telling you that I have been vaccinated a lot because I lived overseas more than one time and it was required. But I also never got any of the things I was being vaccinated for, like hepatitis and yellow fever and typhoid and a bunch of other things. So it's fine. But I do think it was a bioweapon. I think that scientists in Wuhan was trying to create coronaviruses that they could use to infect other countries, and that it escaped and it started infecting all the people around that Wuhan lab, and then it quickly spread, because the thing about it was it's not something that naturally developed, and none of us had any resistance for it, we thought. Now, that may or may not be true, because I know people who still haven't been sick and have been around other sick people. I think there is some natural immunity. It may be genetic. It could be your blood type. And obviously, there's also some people who have a genetic predisposition to get really, really sick from it. Or your, thank you, English 1142, or your comorbidity makes you more susceptible to it, which it would anything. I mean, any severe influenza would make someone with a comorbidity really sick. So, but we have not seen the end of it. And this is not me. I have not seen into the future. I'm not predicting the future, but I am saying because viruses mutate, we could see other mutations coming down the road, and we don't know if they'll be more serious or less serious. Bill Gates has patents on it, COVID and vax, and has stated he wants people to. I've heard that. I went and saw the patents for SARS, which is not the same thing as what COVID is, done by our government about 10 years ago. And to me, our National Institute of Health should have done that because it was something happening in Asia and we needed to have rights to it so we could study it. I find the Bill Gates involvement in it very suspect. He's not a medical doctor, and he doesn't tell the truth. He even cheated on his wife, and she's divorcing him. He's a kind of slippery, probably sociopathic person, and I don't listen to anything anybody says about him. Why do I care? I don't care. I don't care what Bill Gates thinks or does. Yeah, never been about him. You and your families in these very crazy times. Hey, Lone Star. Hey, Shalom. Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Encephalitis test bed. Okay. Good evening. When I was in the military, I was part of an encephalitis test lineup, and we all got the jab. Bill Gates. Yeah, okay. All hallmarks. Okay. I just don't like this one, said Edwin Merritt. Me too. It's the same thing. Okay. The flu almost killed me. COVID wasn't half as bad, so Jeff Free Broth. It's the same thing that I had. So it's getting dark. I'm going to have to go. I appreciate y'all being here. And I'm sorry to some of you that are on my channel all the time and comment, and you only get on here for like 3 minutes and then I have to get off. But I am limited by the light. I could sit here and do this, but then I'm gonna attract bugs, and I don't want to do that, and I have to lock up my chickens and things like that. I'm so sorry, Lone Star Living. I would love to have a lot more chat with you because I know you're doing things and you've got stuff going on. Sergeant James, I really enjoyed your photographs of the event you were at. It looked really cool. Prepper Frog, that was a really beautiful video you did the other night of your sunset. Wes S and Mrs. Wes S, just keep on trucking, y'all. Yeah, gotta get to the chickens. Yes. Yep. I really look forward to all y'all's comments, and y'all hunker down, all right? Don't be that nail sticking up, and be ready, because we don't know what's coming, and the signs are not good right now. All right, bless you. I'm going to get going, y'all. Bless you. Good night. Good night. Shalom.